Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making a Christmas pickle. These Christmas pickles are so cute. If you are not familiar with Christmas pickle, the general gist of it is you have one Christmas pickle and you hide it on your Christmas tree the night before Christmas. And Christmas morning, whoever finds the Christmas pickle has good luck for the year, or they receive an extra present. So that is a super fun way. They look great in a jar. So I have a whole bunch in my kitchen in a little pickle jar, and I think it looks so cute. You can put the eyes on or not, and of course you can use safety eyes if you have small children in your house or pets that like to eat googly eyes. And how I'm doing it at my house is I'm going to be hiding a Christmas pickle every day before the kids get their advent calendar. They'll have to find the pickle. So I'm kind of using my Christmas pickle as elf on a shelf, but they are also just super cute to just have in your kitchen in a jar. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, it's available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. So what you're going to need to make these Christmas pickles is some yarn. I'm just using this Saver from Ice Yarns. There's a link to it down below, my favorite go-to acrylic. You will need a needle for sewing in your ends, scissors, a crochet hook. You can use any size from a 4mm up to a 6mm, and depending on what size hook you use is how big your pickle will be. So the smaller the hook, the smaller the pickle, and the larger the hook, the larger the pickle. You'll also need a stitch marker and some googly eyes if you're using them. You will also need some hollow fiber for stuffing your pickle later. So let's get started. To make the Christmas pickle, we'll start by making a slip knot, but make sure you leave a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. We want to use this tail to help form the base of our pickle or the end of our pickle. So leaving a tail, make a slip knot any which way that you normally do and shrink that down onto your hook. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. To count your chains, you don't count what is on your hook, you just count these V's underneath. So there's 1, 2, and 3. This one here is the knot. We're going to work into the first chain we did, or the third chain from the hook. We want to get 2 strands of that stitch on the top of our hook. So we're going to push into the bottom part of that chain and wiggle 2 strands of that chain onto your hook. So hold the center of that U shape open with your thumb and finger and slip stitch to form a ring. Still keeping it open in the center, and chain 1. Now put your hook straight into the middle, right where your finger is, and we're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, and we don't want to work over our tail, so drop your tail. Here's 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's our 6 single crochets. And for the pickle, we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're not going to be joining. Into our first real single crochet, so we're going to be skipping over this chain. That's going to be difficult to work into, and it's not really a stitch. We're going to go right into that very first single crochet, and we're going to make 2 single crochets. So put your hook in. You want both strands of that V on your hook, and 2 single crochets. 1 and 2, all into the same stitch. Into the next stitch, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. And the next stitch, 1 single crochet. 2 single crochets into the next stitch. There's 1 and 2, and 1 single crochet into the next. So now get your stitch marker, and just underneath this stitch, just grab one of those strands of yarn, one of those loops, and just pop a stitch marker. This is marking where we started our row, or the last stitch of our row. and inside out your work. So kind of flip it up. And we want also our tail, let's pop your hook in, we want our tail to be on the outside, because we want to use that later for stitching. And now into each stitch going around, 1 single crochet into each stitch. So we've gone into this stitch here. You can just trace back that yarn where our stitch marker is. We've gone into this stitch. So our next one is over here. So 1 single crochet into each stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. So back at our stitch marker, 1 single crochet into each stitch going around. We are going to start where our stitch marker is going to be the smaller side of our pickle, so we get a little bit of a bend. So now where our stitch marker is, we want to do a slip stitch. And we want it to be a bit loose, so bring your hook up a little bit, giving yourself enough yarn on your hook, and 1 slip stitch, like that. And now 1 single crochet into each stitch until you get back to that same area where your stitch marker is. If you want to start doing your bumps, we can also do a bump. And you can put these bumps wherever you want. To do a bump, you do a treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice, and into the next stitch, do 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2, wrap your yarn and take off 2. So that just gives you a nice long stitch. And 1 single crochet into the stitch right after, and into every stitch around. And you can put as many bumps as you'd like and wherever you want them to be. So now back at the stitch marker area, we'll do another slip stitch. So make your loop of yarn a little bit bigger on your hook. And into that stitch, just 1 slip stitch. You can also slip stitch into the next stitch. You can do 2 or 3 slip stitches. That'll just change the shape of your pickle a little bit. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next, and then 1 single crochet into each stitch until I get back to that area. If you want to do a bump, that is a treble crochet. So you can put those as often as you'd like. So keep going till we get to that area. 1 single crochet into each stitch. And we can change it where we do our slip stitch. We don't have to do it into the exact same stitch, and we don't have to do the exact same number. So for this round, I'm going to slip stitch earlier. So I'm pulling up a larger loop of yarn on my hook, and I'm going to slip stitch right before my old slip stitch. And now I'm going to single crochet into the next. And this is more of a formula than an actual pattern. You can do your slip stitches and your single crochets or treble crochets however you like. Each pickle is different. So 1 single crochet into each stitch until we get around to that stitch marker area. You don't have to follow the exact stitch to make your slip stitch to shrink down your pickle. Just follow the area where your stitch marker is. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So pulling up a larger loop of yarn, 1 slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch again into the next. So pulling up a larger loop of yarn and 1 slip stitch into the next. And now I'm going to single crochet into each stitch. Now I'm back at my stitch marker side. So I'm going to slip stitch, pull up a larger loop of yarn on your hook, go into the next stitch, and slip stitch. 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And I'm going to do a bump. So wrap your yarn twice, and into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet. And you can space out your bumps, put them wherever. There's a treble crochet. And into the next stitch, single crochet. And you can see how that treble crochet popped into the center of the pickle. So if it does that, just pop it back out. Don't panic. Just do your single crochet after, and then use your finger to pop that bump onto the correct side of your pickle on the outside. And now keep going, 1 single crochet into each stitch till we get back to our stitch marker side. And make your slip stitches on the stitch marker side. You can do 1, 2, or 3 slip stitches depending on how you want your pickle to bend. The more slip stitches, the more curved your pickle will be. I'm going to slip stitch twice on this side for this round, and now 1 single crochet into each stitch until I get back to that area. You can see that slip stitch side is a lot shorter. And we're just kind of lining it up with our stitch marker. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next. Maybe I'll slip stitch 3 times for this round. Remembering to pull up a bigger loop for your slip stitches. That makes it easier to crochet into for the next round. And then 1 single crochet into each stitch. So pause the video and keep going, doing your stitches all the way around. Regular stitches, single crochet, and bumps are a treble crochet. If they're on the inside, you just pop them out with your finger to get to the outside of your pickle, and then keep going until it is the length you would like your pickle to be. When your pickle is long enough, we're going to start doing our decreases. But before we do that, we want to get a little bit of stuffing down inside. So pull up a loop of yarn and tuck that tail out of the way. You can remove your stitch marker and put your stitch marker on this loop so it doesn't undo. And get your hollow fiber or your stuffing and just poke your stuffing down inside your pickle. And a crochet hook works really great to get it all the way down into the bottom. You don't want to stuff it so much where you get big holes along the side. You still want it to be solid. And if you do find you have bigger holes, you want to go down a hook size for your next pickle. And now we're going to start doing our decreases to close off this end. So into the next 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease. So you're going to start your first single crochet like usual, but leave it on your hook. And into the next stitch, start your second single crochet, leaving that on your hook. Wrap your yarn and take off all 3 loops. So that is a single crochet decrease. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And I keep my finger inside there, kind of holding that hollow fiber away from my crochet hook. I don't want to drag any hollow fiber out of my pickle. So 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And into the next 2 stitches, a decrease. So start your first single crochet, and into the next stitch, start your second. 3 loops on your hook, wrap your yarn, and take off all 3 loops. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next 2 stitches, a decrease. So start your first single crochet, leaving it on the hook. Into the next stitch, start your second single crochet, leaving it on the hook. So you have 3 loops. Wrap your yarn and take off all 3 loops. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And into the next 2 stitches, a decrease. So start your first single crochet, and into the next stitch, start your second single crochet, 3 loops on your hook, wrap your yarn, and take off all 3 loops. So we're going to keep going like this all the way around our pickle, making 1 single crochet and a decrease until it's too small. So when it gets tight like this, maybe you have about 5 stitches left. Chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through. You want to leave a long enough tail to sew with a needle. Thread your needle, and now we're just going to stitch all of this shut. So from the side where the yarn's coming from, I'm going to go straight across and out the other side. So we want to close up this hole and drag that little join down into our work. So I'm just going from one side to the other, any which way that you like to. And you can wiggle that hollow fiber inside just to kind of get it to that end. So when you finish sewing it shut, put your needle back down into your pickle and out the side. Snug that down, make sure you're happy with how everything looks, and then cut your tail. On the side where we started, we're going to do the same thing. If you have a short tail and it's getting difficult, you can put your needle into your work first. So just down beside, not into the same spot, but a little bit over. and then thread your needle afterwards. And then finish pulling your needle through, and that'll get that little tail back down into your Christmas pickle. And snip off that tail. If you want to put some eyes onto your Christmas pickle, I'm just using these googly eyes. If you are in a house with kids or you want to sell these, then use safety eyes for sure. Just find a spot on your pickle that looks like it should be the face, and take your googly eye. I'm using one googly eye that's a little bit bigger than the other, just because that's what I have, and it kind of makes it look googly. So a little bit of glue, and then pop that eye down where you want it to be. And second eye, right next to it. And there you go, there is your Christmas pickle. So I can't wait to see your Christmas pickle. You can tag me over on Instagram at Secret Yarnery. Love to see how yours turned out, and if you used eyes or not, what they look like. I think that'd be so cool to see. So go ahead and tag me over there. You can also upload to our Facebook group, the Secret Yarnery Crochet Community, or on our page, The Secret Yarnery. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already and you want to see more of these cute, fun, and easy crochet projects, go ahead and subscribe to the channel down below and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the fun. We also do a live chat every Friday and lots of yarny goodness throughout the week, so love to have you join us. So thanks for hooking along, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay hooked.